Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Rams Review Podcast. Um, it's Cory here, and we've got a special bonus pod for you. Special guest. I hope I'm saying this right. Chanyoung Lee from South Korea. Lee, I hope you're doing well. How are you, mate?
Yeah, how you mate?
I'm really good. I really appreciate you taking the time. And it's a bit weird, really, because 13-hour time difference between the two of us recording it. So for me, it is late at night, and for Lee, it is early in the morning. But I'm sure everybody knows, our listeners are aware, those on Twitter are aware that Lee is a super fan from Darby County, super fan, and probably also a fan of the Rams Review podcast from Korea. And we're just pleased to have him on. I'm sure you saw the video. Agents fees and stuff, Lee, they can get in the way, but I'm glad our agents were able to hash out a multi-podcast deal. I think we can announce now for you coming on the pod. Appreciate it, mate. You coming on. So Lee, we know about you online. We see you on Twitter. You comment a lot of great stuff on Derby things, and you're real passionate Rams supporter. But I kind of want to get a vibe for who you are and whatever. So, you're in Korea, obviously. So where are you in Korea, and what's it like there? And then what do you kind of do on a day-to-day basis?
I'm living in Seoul, the capital city of South Korea. You know, there's still COVID-19 is dominated our life, but I think I'm good. And I'm in high school, second grade, maybe in similar with first grade in sixth form school in UK. But Korean educational system is totally different with British. So I think that's just similar with ages, not educational parts.
Oh, that's
So
cool. So what are you studying in school, Lee?
uh, I'm studied in accounting in school. I just study another subjects like mathematics or English, but I just major in accounting.
And so what do you want to do with that longer term when you, I hate to say it, but when you kind of grow up and into enter not necessarily the real world because we're living in the real world, but what do you want to do with that? What do you want to do with your accounting degree?
Yes, I just wanna I first of all I just think I wanna be an accountant, but after reading some public accounting books or something, I thought I wanna be a public account in somewhere like UK, or I can be work for Derby County, or who knows?
Well, to be honest, Lee, I think Darby, as you're well aware, they could probably do with one or two good accountants. So obviously, we'll if we can get a word to Mel, we will let him know that you're available because I'm sure Darby could definitely use some accounting help these days. So Lee, how did you get interested in football?
Well, when I was 7, I watched the international game against Greece, and my national team is South Korea. During my family trip to Gyeongju, the South Korean city, that was South Africa World Cup at 2010. You know, Lee Jong-soo, the defender, scores a goal against Greece. So I just impressed about it. In general, attackers scored a goal, right? But that time, the defenders scored a goal. So I've been interested in football since then.
I mean, I know from I'm probably dating myself here, but I can remember a little bit further back to when Korea hosted the World Cup. And certainly for me, living in America, I know America did really well in that World Cup, and they played Korea in the same group, and that was actually probably one of the high points of Korean football because I think you finished fourth in that World Cup. Obviously lost the third place game to Turkey, but I think you finished fourth in that World Cup, and that was a pretty remarkable thing for South Korea at the time because I don't think South Korea are not necessarily major players on the international football scene.
Yes, I think that was 2002
2002,
when,
yeah.
yeah, and 2010 we are reached at, I think that was quarterfinal, I think. But yeah, we actually did well that season.
Yeah, it seems to be, obviously, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, but it just seems to be Korean football is kind of on the rise here, over the last 20 years or so, kind of one of these, not necessarily new country to football, but definitely one of the rising nations that 20 or 30 years ago, they probably would not have mentioned at a World Cup or being successful or winning games. And now they're winning Asian trophies and they're qualifying for the World Cup on a regular basis. So you continue to see their names. So that's good for the growth of the game. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But another question for you, you're doing your accounting degree, and obviously you're tweeting about Derby County. So do you play football or not? And if you do, what positions do you play? And do you play any other sports?
Well, I think I play football, but I think I'm not well. I'm 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 usually playing goalie or center half, but not a decent, I think.
Can you play goal better than some of the Derby keepers we've had in the past couple seasons?
I think I could.
An honest assessment there. All right. Well, they'll definitely get Mel on the phone. Then we can sign you up and be a backup to David Marshall. So you said you play goalkeeper, and what else did you say you play?
I think I play in center half. Yeah, center back, center back.
Do you emulate your game on any center halves that we might know? Like,
Sorry,
do you
pardon.
do you play a similar way to any defenders that we might know or
Oh.
anything like that?
I think I played like a Richard Keogh.
That's what I was gonna say. There you go, Richard Keogh. Yeah, so fair enough. So you're making those run busting runs out the back and everything like that, and you know, but
Yeah.
obviously trying to cut down on the errors that he sometimes made. But he's obviously a legend, so not a bad person, Lee, to emulate yourself on. But do me a favor, do not get a Richard Keogh shirt with an MK Dons jersey. You can't do it, Lee. You've already signed on for Derby. You can't be jumping to MK Dons now that Big Rich is over there.
Um, and I try to mention about another sports like baseball or another. Actually, I love in baseball. Um, I'm I'm enjoying both of watching and playing about baseball. Actually, I'm watching Major League Baseball in America.
Oh, fair enough. So what teams are you watching, Lee? Because I like baseball. That's probably a little known fact on the Rams Review podcast. But I'm
Um,
a Washington Nationals supporter. So the Nationals actually just won the World Series the past season. So what games are you catching over in South Korea?
I'm actually supporting New York Yankees because a lot of legends played for them and a lot of games they won, and a lot of trophies they won, I think. So I just like them.
Yeah, that's not a bad choice. I know for me, Nationals it was difficult to support for some times because they were so terrible, but eventually they've started to come around the last few years. So I completely agree, and you know that's just awesome. We could chat about baseball all day because I love that stuff. But unfortunately, Lee, between me and you, we have to keep it to Derby because we don't want to necessarily get other Derby fans necessarily interested in baseball in this podcast, but we can certainly talk about it in the future. So that brings me to my next question. Why Derby? Why Derby out of all the teams? Why Derby?
Well, I think it just takes a long time to say, I think. So when I was young, there's a plenty of strong teams in British football. As you know, it's not a general thing to choose your local clubs. But for me, yeah, I'm not choose my local clubs in South Korea either. But it's different question when you watch your foreign football, you know? First of all, my father made me to watch some huge teams in United Kingdom, like Arsenal or Man United or AC Milan in Italy, or some teams. So I think I watched it till 2015. But when I got my smartphones, I'm interested on other teams. So when I've seen Bobby at FIFA games, so I thought I have some interest in them. But I searched them in online and got it there. They have a game with QPR at at the final at the final game at playoff final. You know, we lost that game, but I think I have more interest in Derby. So for 1 year, I just try to watch them. I just try to search them, and I just try to find their historical articles in internet or some books. So I just impressive about that. So after I read some articles again related in Brian Clough or Lloyd McFarlane or some legends, I thought they are a strong team and thought why they're in the second division in England. And I really like their players that time, like Chris Martin or Richard Keogh or Will Hughes or Craig Bryson. So I don't know why I'm so pro Derby, but I think I fell in love with them.
Yeah, sometimes you just know when you know. You meet people across life, or you see stuff and it just attracts you to it, and you don't really know why. But that's really awesome that you were able, that you were able to go and do the research. Because for me, I know I find a lot of people, they're like, oh, I support this team, and I'm like, well, why do you support whatever? And they're like, well, because they're good, or because I whatever, and they never necessarily do the research to find out about the history and the players and stuff like that. So that's really cool that you actually sat down and you did a lot of you did a lot of history about Roy McFarland and the Rams and everything like that going back a long time. So this wasn't on our questions that I sent you yesterday, but what is the what is the most what's the best thing you found out that is in Derby's history that you've discovered that you found most interesting?
Actually, I've write some Derby articles in Korea for the South Korean leaders in South Korean Football Forum. Um, I many think that Brian Clough era is the best part of the Derby, but I think with Steve Bloomer in last century, I think with Steve Bloomer is the best thing I found. Steve Bloomer is the best goal scorer at England national team, and for Derby, and for Middlesbrough when he played. So yeah, I think West Steve Bloomer is the best strong team in Derby County.
Yeah, I think from what I've heard from people is that Steve Bloomer's really kind of like the Ronaldo or the Messi or the Pele or Maradona of his age. I mean, he was the greatest Victorian era footballer ever. And I've actually had the pleasure of when I went around Pride Park, they actually have a pair of his boots there. And they're completely different to the boots that they wear today, I can assure you. But that's something you're obviously going to see, hopefully, when you get over to Pride Park. But yeah, that's really cool. I mean, I wouldn't disagree with that. We could do with a Steve Bloomer today, but then again, that's that. I mean, what you can't put a price on Steve Bloomer, right? So we've mentioned that between me and you talking right now, it's a 13-hour time difference, and still, this is really weird for me because it's 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 Saturday morning for you.
Uh, no. It's Friday morning.
It's Friday morning, and it's
Yeah.
Thursday. It's Thursday night here. That's just bizarre. You're like, I'm talking to you in the future. This is weird. Like, I feel like you should already know more news than me because you're in the future. So, so, and I know from you in England, I think it's what, a 5-hour time difference, 8-hour time difference. I think 8 hour.
Yeah, 8 hours in
So,
summer. Yeah.
so is it easy to watch games in South Korea? How does that? What's your kind of routine on a match day? Because obviously the time difference is a little different for you. So what's it like?
Um, Actually, really struggled to watch the game. South Korea isn't apply summertime, so it's changed whether what season is. So yeah, in summer, I think I watched the game at 4 a.m. at weekdays and 11 p.m. at weekends. And without summertime, I'm watching the game at 5 a.m. and I'm watching the game at 12 p.m. at 12 p.m. Oh no, 12 a.m. at weekend. I think it's very hard for me, but sometimes I feel I don't want to watch derby games, but yeah, now I'm comfortable with it. But because my school is far from my home for 1 hour to take, so I should get up at 6 a.m. at least. So I just get up at 4 a.m. and watch it again for 2 hours, and just 6 a.m. I eat the breakfast and go to school. So I think it's not hard for me right now, but at the first time I was really struggling with.
Tell you what, Lee, I think there's some people who live within 10 miles of Pride Park that be struggling to watch Derby most days. And I don't think, I don't think getting up at 4 a.m. sometimes necessarily brings you so much enjoyment as it does. Why am I doing this? So, that dedication is that dedication's pretty phenomenal. To get up I mean, I'm an early bird myself, but I'm not getting up at 4 a.m. to watch Derby. I watch him normally at, 7, 6 a.m., something like that. But that's real dedication, especially when you've got to go to school and everything like that. So I'm assuming that when you're commuting to school after the game, how are you connected to Derby? Obviously, outside of Twitter, are you on Rams TV? Are you watching them on YouTube? How do you connect to the club outside of Twitter?
Yeah, I think I'm watching the game through Rams TV. Before the club broadcast the game for DC TV, I remember that time I wasn't paid for the game, but I think I think it's 2017. I started to pay the game and use Rams TV since then.
We actually had Owen Bradley on the podcast not too long ago. So, you a fan of Owen Bradley and his commentary?
Yeah, actually, he followed me, and yeah, I really surprised why he followed me at Twitter. Actually, I love his commentary and Rams TV, and personally, I like his tweet at Twitter. Yeah, I love him.
Yeah,
I think.
he's a good guy. He's a good guy. We like to have a chat with Owen every now and then. So the next question for you: have you ever been to an actual Derby game, or have you ever been to the UK?
I'm frankly not. I think I've traveled lots of countries like US or Thai or Japan, but unfortunately, I wasn't been to UK yet. But I have a plan to visit UK after my graduations of high school. I think I will graduate at a high school at 2022, early 2022. So I go to Derby then.
Cool. Well, that'll be awesome. I mean, I'll tell you one thing: you're gonna really enjoy it because Pride Park's a pretty nice stadium, and it's Derby's a nice area, especially with the countryside and everything like that. So, outside of seeing Pride Park and Derby County and everything like that, is there anything else that you'd like to see while you're in either Derbyshire or in the UK that you've kind of researched and you've looked and you thought, hey, I'd really like to go and go here or go there? What would you like to do outside of football stuff?
Hmm. Actually, I really like history, except accounting. So I'm feel free to study another country's history like US or Japan or UK. So I've heard some history of England and I read some articles on related on England. So I heard that Derby is actually originated from Asian Vikings wars, meaning I think the meaning is the deer village.
Hmm.
So and they were one of places of industrial revolution. So I'm really impressed with. So I just read another articles. So I just find out about the place named I think the Derby Industrial Museum.
Mhm.
So I want to visit there.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff around Derby. And what you'll find, Lee, is where Pride Park was. That used to be a rail yard. So obviously the trains would go all shunting in there, and there'd be tons of cars and everything like that. And that was about 40 or 50 rail lines that they eventually made into Pride Park. But and then when you walk a little bit further up, you've got Derby train station as well. So yeah, it's a pretty cool area, and I'm sure you're aware of this, but the modern nursing was born in Derby with Florence Nightingale. So she's a born in Derby, and so there is a lot of history, and it's really phenomenal when you're able to go around and you see these things, and you see things that you didn't even know, you didn't even realize that Florence Nightingale was from Derby, or you walk through the cathedral and you see some of the famous people who are buried there and everything like that. And I mean, yeah, it's just super cool, and it's gonna be super enlightening. Um, I know I'm looking forward to see you going, and I know a lot of the other fans are looking forward to see you going. So hopefully that happens real soon, and hopefully the club do something for you, because you come in such a long way. It'd be really cool for that to be involved. So we already touched on this a little bit because you mentioned Steve Bloomer, but between Steve Bloomer and modern day, name me another famous player or another favorite player that you have.
The time or
Yeah,
I watch it.
sometime in between Steve Bloomer and sometime between modern day, that kind of 60s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s era.
Mm, like Dave McKay or Laurie
Yeah,
Lackland,
yeah,
or in 1990s for Igor Stimac, yeah, or Gaviadini or Mats Pum or some players.
yeah. Those are all really good choices, Lee. So why? So moving to the current Derby squad. Um, I can't believe you left. I wasn't gonna mention this, but I have to, Lee, because I know you like him, and we like him, Chris Martin. And it pains me to say that he is a favorite former Derby player, because
Yeah,
he's just signed for Bristol today. And don't cry, Lee, because you're not crying. I'm not crying. You're crying.
yeah.
So yeah, it pains me. It pains me to say that Chrissy Martin is a former Derby County player now, but I think he's definitely got to be on both of our lists. So from the current squad, obviously they play in a couple days. Who's your current favorite player and why?
For me, is Drain Holmes. Yeah, after he joined from Scornthorpe, I'm really impressed with his play. I think it was against Leeds United. We lost the game, but he showed his passion till the end of the game, and he played plenty of positions that season. Like right back side when players injured, or left back side when our left back are fully gone out, and central midfield or right wing or something. So I'm really impressed with his skills, like dribble or ut- utilize at his position. So yeah, I think he was amazing player, and I'm really impressed with his passion for the team. So when I received message from Dwayne Holmes, I felt really delighted. To be honest, I can't describe my words how the feel is.
Yeah, it's hard to not like Dwayne. He's got an infectious smile, and everything you pointed out there, you're dead on, Lee. He's got a lot of creativity, a lot of pace, a lot of skill, and hopefully we can definitely see the best of him this year. Expecting a big year from him. So he's he's one of our favorite players too, especially mine, obviously with the US connection and everything like that. But you gotta love the guy. He puts everything on the floor for you. So, you gotta love him. Um, which brings me to my next point. Are there a lot of other Derby County fans in Korea? And do your friends like Derby? Is there this like hub of Derby fans that we're not necessarily aware of in Korea?
Mm, uh, to be fair, I think I saw just four supporters here. Just four, not 14 or 40. Well, imagine you support the third division in Korea. I think there's no fans in UK or some US. But I think Derby is an amazing team. So I just wanna support Derby County, but also promote Derby County in South Korea. So I'm learning the CFC fan pages in Facebook for 2 years and writing some Derby articles in South Korea for 3 years. So I think there's no fans to increase, but some people knows the team thanks to me, I think.
Well, that's good, and it's commendable that you're trying to you're trying to grow them and stuff like that. I mean, that's really commendable, especially when it might be, you don't necessarily have a lot of your friends and stuff involved as well. That's really not only that's really brave of you and really cool, and that's really awesome that you're able to do that and take that mantle on. And I've seen some of the stuff that you put out there, and it's really good, Lee. So, I know a lot of the other Derby fans feel the same way. So it's just awesome that you we can be so connected from so far away because of one passion that we both share.
Yeah.
Um, outside of you talked about, watching Derby on Rams TV and everything like that. So outside of Rams TV, if, the average person in Korea, what's the exposure like to EFL? Do they get EFL games? We get them obviously here in America, but outside of the Premier League and stuff, do you guys get a lot of EFL games? Do other people get a limited exposure to it, or do they have to go searching for it more?
I think many people is not interested in EFL before some years, but I think EFL is popular in South Korea. Like many people loves football manager, football manager. So some football manager players become a EFL club's fan, like former EFL clubs like Leeds United or Bristol City or Derby County. Yeah, so I think the major press is not interested in EFL that much, but many South Korean football fans are interested in EFL, though they're not watching the games, but I think they have some interest in EFL. And
That
some people watching EFL games through iFollow system or their TV.
Well, that's awesome to see the growth of, the growth of a game of a league so far away, especially some of the, like you said, obviously Derby's a big club, but some of the smaller clubs as well getting support through various different avenues as well. That's really great to hear. So I want to talk a little bit about the current season, and then we're gonna switch over it a little bit. So what are your thoughts on Philip Kaku, our fearless leader and manager?
I think I'm really surprised he joined the team after Frank Lampard's departure. I think it was such an upgrade for the manager, I think, just in my opinion. But yeah, he was amazing when he played in Netherlands. He is Barcelona legends and PSV legends, both a manager and player. Though he was sacked from Fenerbahce, but he was really amazing with PSV. So I think he can make the derby lift the trophies some days.
So Lee, the $1 million question: do you think Derby can get promoted this season?
Well, actually, I think we can, but we should buy some wingers. But we can if we buy some wingers. So wingers like Joshua in this window or some other great wingers. But I think we could if we buy some wingers.
Do you think, Lee, would you be willing to switch positions to be that winger that we need for promotion?
Pardon?
Would you be willing to switch from midfield general and from center back to the wing in order to fit the need for Derby County?
Yeah.
See, that's dedication, Lee. You're writing articles, you're tweeting about them, you're willing to change your football career and your football game to meet the needs of the club.
I think if I can change the position, Mel should connect with and should mess me to scout.
Well, there we go, Mel. Get on the phone to Lee over here because he can fill your winger need. But I am curious to hear your thoughts, Lee, on the season ahead. You just talked about the need for bringing in a winger and bringing in the transfers and everything like this. And the one thing I found fascinating, being involved in football most of my life and working with Jason on this podcast, is obviously everybody's got different opinions, but sometimes different areas of the world have different opinions. He sees the game slightly different than me, who sees the game slightly different than someone in Australia or France or something like that. So, what are your thoughts on the season ahead, and then what are you most looking forward to seeing this season from Derby?
Yes, actually, I like to analyze his tactics or some players' ability or some players' status in the game. So yeah, I will watch the game about tactically, and I will feel free to criticize about Koku's tactics or praise about Koku's tactics. I'm not expert, but I'm enjoying to watch and analyze there.
Yeah, I mean, football's a game of opinions, Lee, and you don't have to have an expert. You don't necessarily need to be an expert to see sometimes glaring issues that are going on. So, yeah, that's awesome, and you know, it's good that I find it's good when fans are open minded to seeing both the positives and the negative sides from the team as well. Because sometimes people just get caught up with, oh, we're doing so well, but they don't sometimes see the bigger picture. So, if you had to name two players that you think are going to do really well this season for Derby that might not necessarily be the main thought of a lot of fans, who would you say those two players are?
For the important players this
Yeah,
season,
yeah.
I think the first one is Mike Tiberi. Yeah, the Dutch defender. His new faces in this season. After departure of Richard Kiel, we though we got Matt Clark, but he's learning. So Mike Tiberic is the right place to replace Richard Kiel. So if he did do well in Derby County, I think our defense is very solid because Matt Clark is already ready for the Derby. If he is if he is in Dutch Ventosa, I think he will grade a Derby.
Look at that, Raul Abentosa. You're just pulling that one out. You got to remind me of him. Unbelievable.
Yeah. To be fair, he was unfortunate in Derby,
He
I
was. He
think.
was very unfortunate. He was very unfortunate, but still, it brings back some not very nice memories. Um,
Yeah.
so I want to switch gears a little bit. How does the Korean League compare to the Championship?
That is really hard question for me. But former Derby academy players, actually many fans don't know he was Derby academy player. Especially he was good at Cardiff or QPR, I think. The Jordan Mudge played in South Korean team for 1 year, and he said K-League is similar with EFL Championship. But I think it's quite similar except the top six at Championship and low three clubs. Um, in the top six, they really played similar with Premier League clubs. And low three teams, they are really similar to play like League One clubs. So I think except them, the whole team is similar with K League One teams, I think.
Are there any players in the K League that you think could do a job for Derby in terms of not necessarily either being a starter or being a good member of the squad that would help Derby in the transfer market?
I think Kunimoto Takahiro in Jumbo Hyundai Motors. He can play attacking midfielder, central midfielder, and some positions anywhere in midfield. So he's young, I think he is 22, and I think he could challenge for the European leagues. I think he can't achieve the starting XI now, but I think he can great at Derby, I think.
Well, that's good to know. Hopefully, Lee, in addition to your accounting, why don't you just go out and be a pro scout as well? Because Derby tend not to get players from far away. So you could be our far east. You could be the club's far east scout. That wouldn't be half bad. So now we
Yeah,
filled the fact that you're going to be the club's accountant, you're going to be the club's far east scout, and you're going to play left wing for Derby as well, Lee. You can just do it all, mate.
I
Um,
quit 3 jobs.
so there's been a lot of recent success. We talked about it at the beginning of the podcast. There's been a real rise in Korean football, maybe over the last 20 years, and there's been a real growth of Korean players having success in the English leagues. Two of the ones that pop up off the top of my head are Park Ji-sung and Heung-min Son from Tottenham. So, do you expect to see more Korean players make that jump to the English game in years to come?
That is so. After the success of 2002 World Cups, many football experts emphasized of the youth system in football, including the legend of South Korean football, Cha Bum-kun, called Cha Boom. So he emphasized about the importance of the youth football. So many South Korean football league academy try to grow up them and try to impress of them. So I think we'll be good in after the year by the year because our youth system is pretty good.
I think it's actually helped Korean football in a way, um, qualifying obviously out of the region, the Asian region, because they've added Australia to that mix as well, because obviously Oceania don't have the automatic bid to the World Cup, but the Asian Federation does. And so, I think it's got to definitely help that the kind of Korea and Japan and things like that when they're playing against another so-called big boy in the region in Australia, because they've got to be that much more competitive now rather than playing, a Vietnam or a Laos or a Thailand that not necessarily have strong football cultures or strong football teams. So definitely it's going to be interesting, like you say, to see the rise of Korean football. And obviously when they're playing tougher competition, the players are going to get better. They're going to be playing against European based players and teams are going to take chances on them. So hopefully we get to see more of those players, because I know Park Ji-sung had a big impact on Manchester United in the Premier League, and Heung-min Son is one of the best, probably in my opinion, one of the best attackers in the Premier League. If not, definitely a top 50 talent in Europe as well, because outside of Harry Kane, he's Tottenham's main man, in my opinion. So it's just really cool to hear that the game's going well and more players are willing to make that jump as well. And people are looking outside of where they naturally would to find them. So I have this impression, Lee, that you are a big fan of defenders, and you
Yeah.
like defenders that like to tackle and like to get stuck in and like to do the dirty work. Um, and so I'm going to hesitate to guess here. My next question is your favorite all-time Korean player and why? And I'm going to hazard a guess, and I'm going to say it's a defender.
I think it's not defender
Oh,
because
you crushed me, Lee.
yeah. Named Yom Ki-hoon, he is the winger actually. He is captained for the team almost 7 years, and he was joined the team at 2010, and he plays still for the 10 years, except no, 8 years, except his military service at 2 years. He is truly a legend of the club. What I supporting, like named Suwon Blue Wings. He's the top scorer of the team and his top assist for the team all the time. So I think he's completely legend of the team. So actually, I love defenders, but I love the players who has the passion for the team, like Richard Keel or Craig Bryson or Chris Martin or some players in Derby.
Fair enough. So another question. I'm going to go off script here again, Lee.
Yeah.
Is there a team? Is there a team in South Korea in the K League that Derby fans should look to as kind of their kind of kindred spirit, kind of long lost cousin kind of club? Is it the Blue Wings? Are they? Should Derby fans, should we start up a half Derby, half Blue Wings kind of thing here?
I think Blue Wings have most of trophies in South Korean League, but they are not great for recent seasons. They won't achieve the K-League title for 12 years. They only won the FA Cup for 4 times after they won the league last time. But yeah, I think we're the best team that have amazing history in South Korea. So Derby is for the England team, which uh, greatest greatest history in the UK. So I think it could happen. It could happen, I think,
All right.
because both of them is amazing team. You know.
Yeah, well, we'll make it happen so we can have this twinned kind of club thing with Darby and the Blue Wings. Um, so you've you've been on the Darby County Twitter community, I want to say. I guess I can call it a Twitter community for a while, and you're very popular on there. So what have you learned from being part of the Darby Twitter community?
Actually, I'm not so popular. I've started Twitter at 2014, and but though my first account was I I lose my first account, but I'm not actually not so famous until last year. But when I started to make GIFs for my our fans, like fans who can't watch it the game, but they show my videos and they can get, oh, we scored like that. Yeah, that is pleasure for both of them. So I think that is really positive for both of them. So yeah, that I think they can get from me, but I really can't get their cultures or their their words for me. Like they said to me, "Only thank you. I was in company, but you you can make me to watch the games." So I think that is my pleasure.
Yeah, I mean, that's to be honest with you, Lee. That's how you first popped on my radar. Was I was watching the games, and I was obviously, I was sometimes you can't watch them all, and I was reading the Twitter feed about these goals and stuff, and I was like, who's this guy keep posting these clips? And I was like, this Lee guy, who's he? And I clicked on, I was like, oh, this guy's from South Korea. This guy's awesome. And so, it's just really cool. So that's really neat that you do that. And then obviously your enjoyment is seeing other people enjoyment as well. That's just super cool. Um, what do you enjoy most about interacting with Derby fans online?
I think the Dolby fans in Twitter is the best member in British football. I think because when I watch it, the Derby County and support Derby County and tweeting about Derby County, some fans of another fans like Leeds United or Hull City, or just examples, they sent me some racism comments or they said try to not support Derby County, just support your locals. But yeah, I think support your locals is pretty fair. But when you watch Barcelona or AC Milan or Real Madrid, you don't say about them for support your locals. So I really hurt about them, but Derby fans tell me not about racism comments, not about support your locals. They just try to say to me, "Oh, you're an awesome guy. You're greatest fans in abroad." Yeah, I really feel grateful when I heard about them, and they're really kind for me.
That's awesome, Lee. And I mean, I know I can speak on behalf of Jason. I can speak on behalf of myself, and I think I speak for the entire Derby community to just say that we're so proud and glad to have you as part of our family, so to speak, and to support this great club that we all love and we all enjoy. And so, for me, I'm just so proud that I'm just so pleased that we're able to talk and chat about something we both love, because at the end of the day, no matter the differences that we have between people or where people are located in the world or anything like that, I mean, at the end of the day, we love football and we love a club, and that's such a unifying aspect. That's the one thing I've always loved about football is I always felt that football can, do a lot more good than it can, harm, because people can unite behind something. And for instance, Lee, you're in South Korea. I'm in America. We're 13 hours time difference, and we never would have met. We could have lived 95 years on this earth, and we would never have met, except for the fact that we both have a Derby County shirt on right now. And
Yeah.
and so that for me is the coolest part of the community. And I know everyone was super excited. You saw the reactions online at hashtag announce Lee and everything like that. Like, everyone's just so excited because you have so much passion and you have so much caring for this club. And we're just so pleased to have you be a part of this community, and everything like that. And so that kind of leads me into my last question, Lee.
Yeah.
What is the best part about being a Derby County supporter?
I just really hard to say about it. Well, we have some greatest games like Machibi draws amazing goal against Nottingham Forest. I think it was a goal for 22 seconds. And there's some amazing goals like from Chris Martin or dead on bench strike against Urbus, I think. But I think it was the second playoff semi-final second leg against Leeds United. I When I watched it the first leg at the time, I think, oh shit, we are lost and we are still in the championship because we are lost at the home. But when I wake up early that time and watch it the game, and I just shout, though their the time was maybe 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. I just shout, wow!
Did you wake your parents?
Because we're really massive at the game. Jack Marriott is a scorer, and Harry Wilson complete the penalty kick, and finally Keo pass into Marriott, and Marriott scores, and just commentary shouted, and I've shouted, and most of Rams fans are shouted that time. I think that was really massive wins at Allen Road, and many Reds fans crying about that, and they just shut their mouths about to saying "Stop Frank Lampard." Although we are couldn't reach it Premier League, but I think that was really massive.
How many people did you wake up screaming, Lee?
Uh, my mom said, "Shut up, Lee."
Yeah, no, I mean, I completely agree with that. I think for me, when you mentioned that playoff final, that was the first time, and probably the only time that I'm going to admit it, that I actually cried at a football match. And I cried after that. And I know the Champions League final was later that day, and I didn't want to watch it because I was so fed up with football, and the memory stuck with me for such a long time. And I've still never watched the highlights of that day, and I refuse to do that. But then, you have the opposite spectrum as well, like you said, against Leeds, where it was just absolute elation, and you thought, hey, something special's going on here, and all that situation as well. And so, you know, but Lee, that's all the questions I have. Do you have anything you want to say before we tune it in, before we tune it out?
Well, yeah, I really enjoyed about this interview, and yeah, I really, really, really delighted to talk about Derby County for the foreign, uh, yeah, for the overseas people. And really want to visit Pride Park some days and so sing about chants like "People must washing" or like "If you don't fucking wash your red." I want to literally try this. If you don't fucking bounce like this. That is amazing chance I heard before. If you don't Pokemon and people said silence and they started bounce if someone shot it. They started if
You
you
want me to
don't
do? You want me to do it
Pokemon.
right now, Lee?
Oh, okay.
Uh,
If you don't, that's great chance I've ever heard. I think, yeah, great chance.
Well, Lee, I know I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but first of all, we're really pleased that you signed a deal with Rams Review for. I can now say that the agents have finally dried the paper. It's a multi-podcast deal, so we'll have you on anytime. Hopefully, we can get Jason on next time to chat with you and everything like that. So we would love to have you on again, mate. But for me, for someone like I said who's just grown up around football my entire life, and I've always been fascinated about meeting people from other cultures and meeting people from other teams and really just feeling like football's a big unifier. So, when we were able to, we've talked on Twitter before this podcast and doing this conversation is just real nice for me to be able to meet someone, a like-minded individual I wouldn't have met before, but it's because we both support this one club in England. And again, just to reiterate, I know, we're just so, and I know I speak for myself and I speak for Jason, and I think I speak for everybody on Twitter. Like, you're awesome, dude. Keep doing the great work. We're really proud to have you part of this Derby County family, and we can't wait to see it Pride Park so you can be bouncing because you hate the Reds. And, I just really appreciate you taking the time, and we're just so grateful for you and for what you do for the club that we love. And it's just really tremendous. And I just really, really appreciate it. You do some awesome stuff, and you've brought a lot of enjoyment for me with those gifts and those videos. So I've loved it. I loved it. But you're a real important member of this Derby County family, Lee, and we're just really appreciated that you could come on here and talk to us a little bit. And obviously, we're looking forward to having you on again, mate.
Yeah. I really enjoyed this podcast. Thank you for accepting my poor English. I
Hey,
really
Lee,
wanted to
your
people get.
English is better than my Korean, mate.
That is obviously, yeah, but I really want to people accepting my poor English or my some words they can understand for me, or they can get my words. So I'm really enjoying this podcast and hope I join some days for another
Oh, well,
episode.
you're coming on again, Lee. You're coming on.
Yeah.
And we know what we're going to do? We're going to figure out a time where all three of us can be on.
Yeah.
So it's literally a worldwide podcast. That's what we're going to do. That's the next step, Lee. But, again, mate, just really appreciate it. So everyone, obviously we're here with Lee, but, thank you so much for tuning into this great podcast, and we'll speak to you soon.
Yeah. Thank you.